Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Robo Show. I'm your host, Chad Robichaux. I have on today William Branum. He's a former Navy SEAL with 26 years of service, and he's the founder and CEO of Naked Warrior Recovery, which is a CBD company focused on recovery of veterans and first responders. He's also a sniper instructor, combat veteran who served multiple times in combat. Mostly just an advocate for our veteran community and helping others move forward in different ways. And just learning also a fellow BJJ practitioner. And if you guys are listening and can't see Will, he looks like a freaking monster on the mat to deal with. So I'm glad he's a blue belt, not a. I mean, but
lifelong blue belt.
But I've seen blue belts, a lot of blue belts that are crushing black belts. So I won't take my chances. But hey, welcome on the show, and thanks for what you're doing for veterans. I want to know if you could start off with just telling everybody, our audience, a little bit about yourself, your background in the military, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me on the show. I truly appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. A little bit about me. Like you said, I spent 26 years in the military. 23 of those 26 years, I was in the SEAL teams, and the reason that it took me a little longer to get to SEAL training is I made some tactical errors along the way, and some of that was a failure in communication, and some of it was just failure in mindset also. But I grew up in a little town just outside of Meridian, Mississippi. I was heavily involved in the Boy Scouts. I was, there was no way I was ever going to join the Navy because there was a naval air station in my town. And young Navy guys and girls, they act like idiots, like they're fresh out of out of boot camp, and they're like, walking around this new town all in uniform, so everyone knows who you are. And I was like, no way, I'm going to join the Navy. Number one, they have the ugliest uniforms, period, and dungarees and what have you. And then number two, like, I don't want to be on a big gray ship. I want to be on land. I want to be doing something. I always knew that I wanted to be part of some sort of small elite unit. So actually, Marine Recon was something that I was considering. Army Ranger was something I was considering. I grew up watching Kung Fu theater, so I wanted to be a ninja also. Maybe that's why I train jiu-jitsu on occasion. I'm still trying to become a ninja, and maybe you can help me out with that at some point. My role models, I guess, on the media was John Wayne. He was he was a Green Beret in the movie Green Berets. Chuck Norris was part of an organization called Delta Force, and they shot rockets off the front of dirt bikes. I still haven't done that yet. I still want to. And John Rambo. So he was an Army Ranger in Vietnam. So I always knew I wanted to be part of something like that. And so I was trying to figure out my path. And I was at a national jamboree. I grew up very poor, but I was heavily involved in the Boy Scouts. So the Boy Scouts actually paid for me to go to this national jamboree. And I met another kid there, and he was like, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL, and I'm going to be an F-14 Tomcat pilot from the movie Top Gun. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. What's a Navy SEAL? And how do I become an F-14 Tomcat pilot? And so he told me, they're the best of the best, and they do all this stuff and jump out of airplanes and shoot guns and small unit elite tactics. I'm like, well, that's what I want to do. And I think the scuba diving part really was like one of the biggest hooks. And the training was like some of the hardest in the world. I'm like, yeah, I want to be some of the hardest, in the world. And I was not a smart kid. I was mediocre in athletics. But right after that national jamboree, the Navy recruiter called my house, and he said, hey, have you ever thought about joining the Navy? And if he'd have called me, 6 months earlier, I would have been like, no way, man. You find some other sucker. But I was like, yeah, I want to become a Navy SEAL. He's like, check. Come on down. I watched the recruiting video, and I signed up. Basically that summer between the 11th and 12th grade of high school. So I joined the Navy before I even graduated high school, and then after I graduated, I went off to boot camp and did all that stuff. So I got to boot camp. I took the SEAL screening test. I failed it, and when I say I failed it, I didn't really fail it. I quit. I did fine swimming, and I was doing the push-ups, and I look at the scores now of what they were, like the minimum numbers, and I'm like, really? It's that easy? It wasn't easy for me back then because I wasn't like physically and mentally as strong as I should have been, so I wasn't ready to go. Then I made some errors along the way, which put me on a ship for 24 months in Yokosuka, Japan, And because of those other errors that I made, decisions that I made, I almost still didn't get to go to SEAL training because my detailer said, "You're too critical to the Navy. We're not going to let you go." And so I'm like, I've done all the screening tests. I passed everything. I've all the medical stuff. I'm ready to go. And my detailer says, "Yeah, that's great that you want to go, but you're still not going to go." And then the chief of naval operations just happened to come to my ship in Yokosuka, Japan. It was one of the oldest destroyers. And he had CNO. He didn't go to any other ship. He only came to my ship. And he said, "Okay, this is my plan for the Navy. Does anyone have any questions? Over here, pick me." And he called on me, and I said, "Yeah, I joined the Navy to become a Navy SEAL. I think I deserve a chance to go, and but my detailer won't let me go." I totally threw the guy under the bus. He turns to my commanding officer, and he says, "Hey, is he a good guy?" And he's like, "Yeah, he was like a sailor of the quarter this quarter." He turns back to me, he's like, "Check, you'll be in the first class after your PRD. 6 weeks later, I'm off to SEAL training." And it took me a short 13 months to get through that 6-month block of training.
That's no more motivation to make it through, Buds and Hell Week than sitting on a ship for 24 months.
Oh man, it was crazy. Like we're on those soft sand runs, and I'm just like sucking. I'm like, oh, my legs hurt, and my stomach hurts, and my lungs. And the instructors are behind us. "You see that big gray thing out there in the water? Some of you belong there." I'm like, "Not me. I'm running faster now." So yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of, I was 4th Recon Marine, but lots of SEAL buddies. Most of my time overseas was with SEALs, and they talked about that. Like the guys who really had the motivation to pass buds was guys who came from the Fleet Navy and had other jobs, and they're like, "Man, this is what I want to do. I don't want to go back and do that." They knew it was behind them, and they didn't want to go back there.
I thought mess cranking was way harder than buds.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. So I see you got your shirt "Get Naked" on, and
Yep.
I don't think that's.
I wrote that down, naked.
I have a kind of Louisiana accent. And that's one of the hard words for me to say. Well, you're not far away from.
I'm right up the road. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there. But I know that's not a message to me as I read it. But what is Naked Warrior and the work you do there?
So Naked Warrior Recovery. It's primarily a CBD company. And I use CBD as a modality for me because when I got out of I retired after 26 years, I lost my purpose, I lost my mission, I lost my team. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about that and like how do I describe that to people and if you like how that loss feels. And I was watching the movie Avengers where Thanos like does the fist thing with the rocks and like half the world's population goes away.
Yeah.
And that's really how I felt. And it took me a long time to kind of figure that out. Like you lose purpose, you lose mission, you lose team, you lose like your family, you lose everything, all support that you have. And that was, people ask me about, how was your transition from, military to civilian life? And my response is, my transition was the hardest military mission I've ever been on. And I'm still on that mission today. Like I'm still in that transition period and I retired in 2018. From that time, I got a lot of baggage. I got baggage from work. I got baggage from toxic relationships. I got a bunch of baggage. And some of it I put in there my own self, and some of it other people put in there for me. And we walk around, I just mean we as in general, especially veterans, we walk around and we have this, a lot of times we wear it around as ego. We wear it around as armor, when really it's baggage. It's not really armor. It's not really protecting us, but that's how we treat it. Because, in the SEAL teams and in the military, when we go into harm's way, we put our armor on to protect us. Part of my healing process, and was I had to figure out that I was carrying all this baggage around, all this crap around, and I had to like take it off. I had to take my ego off and kind of set it in the corner and kind of expose myself and be vulnerable and get naked. And that's really where the naked, get naked mindset really came from. Is stop hiding behind your ego. Stop feeling like everyone is out to get you, because they're not. People are out there to help you. But it took a long time for me to get there. It took, I was drinking myself to sleep at night, pretty much every night. I have all this noise in my head, and I was, vodka was my medicine of choice. And so I would just pretty much drink myself to sleep. every night for years. And so when I finally tried CBD, maybe I slept a little better, maybe I was a little less pissed off. But what I noticed over time was what CBD did, it kind of turned the noise down in my head so I could have a little bit better self-talk, so that I could actually not have to depend on alcohol to like numb out the noise. It just helped turn down the volume so I could actually take control of my own life and my own thoughts. Instead of having all negative thoughts, I could start injecting some positive thoughts. And so that was something that really helped me. Was CBD helped me take my ego off so I could be a little bit vulnerable, so I could be a little bit naked and exposed, so that I could find the healing that I needed. And that was really the genesis of what Get Naked was all about. And Naked Warrior, because, you know, as a former retired Navy SEAL, the predecessor to today's Navy SEAL, they were called Naked Warriors. They went into combat basically with these with UDT shorts that you may have worn while you were on active duty at some point, with a slate, a mask, and fins, and a K-bar. And that's what they went into combat in World War II and did these hydrographic reconnaissance. And so that was the predecessor of today's Navy SEAL. So I thought it was like a little head nod to a little bit of heritage, and it also means, you know, talks about becoming, you know, taking your ego off, being vulnerable, and trusting other people to help you heal from whatever you're struggling with.
I'm Chad Robichaux, a former Force Reconnaissance Marine, 8-time Afghanistan veteran, federal agent, pro MMA champion, and a 4th degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Preparation for combat, whether on the battlefields of Afghanistan, the streets of America, or just in everyday life, is a priority to me. And part of being prepared is having the right tactical clothing that you can fight, move, and shoot in if the situation arises. I wear Vertex gear, made by tactical operators for tactical operators. But avoiding these situations is equally important. So when I travel or go out, I like to blend in and not stand out as a target. Vertex has no indicators that would identify you as a target. Even their branding is well hidden. I can't say enough about how much I love their clothes and feel comfortable wearing it on any occasion. I specifically like this shirt. It's designed for concealed carry. It has weighted pull-down tabs at the bottom and quick release buttons for a seamless draw. It also comes with a sewn-in undershirt that provides a barrier between your skin and your weapon. Also, these pants have 2 built-in pockets that accommodate extra mags or a flashlight in your daily carry. So head on over to Vertex.com and use promo code ROBO20, that's ROBO20, for 20% off of your next purchase. Awesome. Well, yeah, by the way, I have wore those UDTs before and had a lot of chafed inner thighs from them.
Right.
And I'm kind of sad they took them away right now, because I think that's part of good training, is getting some nothing like a little cellulitis between your legs from
right.
chafing.
It's awesome.
Sand. But I'm with you. So many guys that go in the military are struggling from, you know, childhood and past hurts, and then you add to 20 years of war that we've been in, you know, deployments and burying friends and all these things we deal with. We carry these burdens, and then, you know, we want to be able to keep driving forward, so we put a mask on. We hide behind that mask and tell everybody we're okay. We build walls up and you know, have calloused hearts, and because behind all those things, behind those masks and those walls and those calluses, we don't allow ourselves to heal. And I think until we are able to take that mask off, be vulnerable about who we are and what we're really dealing with, about our insecurities and our inadequacies and our hurts, we're never going to be able to heal. And there's so many ways forward to that for me. Before we got on the show, I was talking about this. You know, one of the biggest pieces for me was the restoration of my faith and surrounding myself by like-minded people who are moving in the same direction, and not people who was just enabling me. Not so necessarily just toxic people, but get away from people that were just enabling me and propping me up, and people that would challenge me and tell me the hard things, but in love, and try to help me to be able to move forward. And you know, there's been a lot of things in my road to recovery, in the work that I do now at Mighty Oaks Foundation and in the resiliency programs we have with our military, active duty people. We talk about mind, body, spirit, social, being mentally tough, mentally strong, physically tough, having a good, strong, healthy body, socially being surrounded by the right people, and having a strong spiritual foundation. I believe all 4 of those or work together so well and it's not an either or thing. It's not like you have to do this or you have to do this. You should do a combination of all those things to be holistically healthy. But I think in order to do those things, you're right. You have to be able to take off that mask. You have to be able to take down those walls and be vulnerable, and be willing to get healthy. And it's with CBD. I'll be honest with you. When it first came about, I'm one of these people that I never did a drug in my life. I never even tried marijuana in my life. So when CBD first came out, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a taboo thing. Like people are trying to get us involved in weed and smoking weed. And I know there's still a lot of veterans that, and I'm not for or against this, but I know there's a lot of veterans that smoke weed to take off their edge and their anxiety and just relax a little bit. Maybe it takes away pain. And I've always been of the opinion that, for me personally, I think that like marijuana is just like that vodka you took. If you're taking it to numb, then it's not good. If you're taking it to heal, then it's good. But if you're taking it to numb, to not feel emotionally, to not feel physically, it's not. I don't even take Tylenol because I want to feel my injury so I don't make it worse. When I'm doing jiu-jitsu, if like my elbow's hurting before I go train, I'm not gonna take I'll ice it before, but I'm not gonna take a medicine to numb it because then I might hurt it worse. So I'm kind of an extremist in that sense. But I thought that this CBD thing at first, and I'm talking a couple of years ago, was like THC. I thought it was the same thing, and so I'm like totally against it. But then as I learned more about it, I went and got some CBD cream for my like lower back when I pulled this muscle one time, and it was phenomenal, man. Like it immediately like took the inflammation and pain away, and I was pretty blown away by that. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with me on the CBD THC thing, but I am interested to hear.
I'm 100% in agreement with you.
Okay, good.
I was exactly the same way. To this day, I've still never tried THC.
Right.
And I've been out for a while. But I had heard about CBD when I was still in. I knew I was struggling. I was, this was probably a year before I got out, and I was listening to a podcast, and the guy was talking about everyone knows about when we're talking about medical marijuana, the molecule THC, but there's this other molecule that helps with, childhood epilepsy. It helps with stress, anxiety. It helps people sleep. It helps with chronic inflammation. It helps with all these other like sort of aches and pains and things like that. And it's a molecule called CBD. And I wrote it down while driving down the road to work, and because I always keep a pen and paper right there in case I think of something, I can jot down a note. And I remember going back and talking to my wife about it, and I was like, I heard about this thing. I want to do a little more research, but I'm not going to go down that road of marijuana while I'm still active duty and I still have a top secret clearance and I'm still engaged in stuff overseas. That's not going to work out well for my longevity in the military. So after I retired, I was still interested, but number one, I was poor. I went from having like an okay income to having pretty much zero income and all of my expenses going up because now I have to pay for all sorts of other stuff that I'm not used to paying for with no income yet. And so I didn't buy any. And I'm still a child of Nancy Reagan's war on drugs, just say no.
Yeah.
This is drugs and this is your brain on drugs. Yeah, so I was still scared. Then I was in Virginia hanging out with a buddy of mine. We had lunch and I said, hey, after this, I'm going to go see if I can find some CBD here in Virginia because maybe what you have in Virginia is better than what we have in Hawaii. And he was like, you want CBD? I've got some back at the house. He's kind of an Instagram influencer person. And so like I kind of talked about earlier, maybe I was a little less pissed off the next morning and maybe I slept a little bit better. But what I noticed, and I actually had this conversation on Instagram with someone yesterday, because she was like, this is what CBD does for me. And she's only been taking it for a little while. And I didn't notice it like this until I ran out. So I used the bottle, I ran out, and I didn't really feel anything because you don't feel anything on CBD. But what you notice is I feel less bad. I feel a little less pain. I feel less migraines. I feel less often, less pissed off. And so what I noticed is, I say water boils at 212 degrees. I was probably living at like a 210 degree range. So it didn't take much of a trigger to like set me off. And what I noticed is over time, I went from like 210 to 205 to 200 to 195 to 190 to 185. So my fuse just got longer as far as like triggers that would like set me off. And I kind of noticed it, but then I kind of didn't. And then I ran out and I stopped taking it, and I started getting closer to that boiling point. And these pains that I live with, they started coming back and becoming a little bit sharper. And so that's that. And so I tried another brand of CBD, and I had similar results. And then I was actually at a business conference trying to figure out like how to market and really what my next mission is in life. And I met someone in the CBD industry. I was super interested. And she was like, well, why don't you start your own CBD company? And I said, I don't know how to do that. And she looked at me and straight in the face and she said, you're a Navy SEAL. Go figure it out. And I was like, man, may I please have my man card back, first of all? And then we had some more conversation, and she kind of educated me on the industry. Super dirty, Wild West. So it's good to be leery. So one of my initial mission was to find and produce and sell the highest quality CBD on the market. And so what I've done is I've partnered with the highest quality suppliers, producers in the market. We test the oil when it comes out of the plant, and then we test the oil again, or the final product, to make sure that there was no contamination in the manufacturing process, and so that you have third-party lab results, so that you know exactly what you're going to put into your body or on your body. Because if you're putting something into your body as a medicine, you don't want a bunch of crap in it. And when I say crap, I mean the FDA and other people have gone out and done testing of CBD products in the market, and they found that more than 70% either they don't have CBD in them, they don't have the amount of CBD they say they have in them, they have high levels of THC in them above that legal limit of 0.3%. They have heavy metals like arsenic, lead, mercury, pesticide, and so it's because because hemp is a bioaccumulator, which is where CBD comes from, and it's such a powerful bioaccumulator that they're using hemp at Chernobyl to clean the radiation out of the soil so they can go back and repopulate that area one day. China uses hemp to clean the pesticides out of the soil as they turn crops over, because that's where a lot of our crops actually come from, not from America. So hemp is a powerful bioaccumulator, so it needs to be, raised in like good organic dirt, soil, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So all of our products the oil is USDA organic certified. Not all the products are, just because we can't control all the things that go into all the products, whether it's a gummy. If it's an oil tincture, the MCT oil, which is a carrier oil, is awesome because it's organic. So we're able to, label that as USDA certified organic. Some of our topicals are USDA certified organic, but some of the things like the gummies, like the gelatin that goes in there, we can't certify those. Some of the soft gels, but it's a big process. But we want to make sure that we're providing the highest quality product on the market, and giving a non-THC option, because I only have one product that has trace amounts of THC in it. Only because people were asking for it, but most of our products are broad spectrum, which means we have all the minor cannabinoids and terpenes. Terpenes are essential oils that come from the hemp plant, but we remove that THC molecule.
Yeah, one of the things that I've seen in the veteran community there's a reason I'm going down this road. The THC side, right? The veterans that are believe that THC is helpful with their stress, anxiety, and I don't know. For me, I feel like that would create. I've had debilitating panic attacks. I felt like if I would do something like that, it would make it worse. But nonetheless, they want to bring when we have the Mighty Oaks programs, they want to bring that with them, and we can't allow it at Mighty Oaks because we have active duty service members there, and whether we agree with it or don't, and I personally don't. We can't have it there. So that's one of the arguments, a lot of veterans are like trying to justify it. And well, you got to understand the argument, what it does. And I'm like, well, for us, we can't even have the discussion, right, because we have active duty people here in orders, and we can't compromise our program. So that is still a thing. It doesn't matter what state you live in. It doesn't matter where you're a resident of. THC is illegal to those in the military. But what is also illegal for those active duty in the military, and correct me if I'm wrong, is still CBD. Now, I think you would agree with this, and I just had someone recently tell me, to say CBD is marijuana or weed is like saying lidocaine is the same as cocaine, right? It's a derivative. It comes from the same thing. It's a totally different drug, different intended purpose. You're not getting high on CBD. Right. It's not mind altering. But it's interesting. CBD is kind of like the antithesis of THC,
So if you were to take some THC and I'm speaking anecdotally because again, I've still never tried THC, I'm still scared. But if you were to take THC and have a really bad trip, you can take CBD and it'll bring you back down off of that really gnarly high, that kind of schizophrenia that you get. Because what happens is THC, as it binds to those neuroreceptors in your brain, and what CBD does, it'll come in and it'll unbind the THC from that molecule THC from the neuroreceptor, and then bring you back down off that high.
Wow, yeah.
They work in like completely different pathways.
That would be my fear, but nonetheless, why is the military ban CBD? Is it just lack of education? Do they not just understand it? It's just like that's what's easy.
It was the Secretary of Defense that made that call to all forces, and actually Tulsi Gabbard, who was a congresswoman from here in Hawaii, she was also a presidential candidate in the last election. Yeah. She tried to get that changed so that the Secretary of Defense did not have that authority, and they were trying to put it in I forgot the policy, but it didn't make it all the way through. But basically, what I think happened is that there were a lot of people who popped positive for taking CBD, air quotes here.
Right.
And I can tell you that I still maintain a top secret clearance. I still do some government contract work where I work in a skiff and I get drug tested, and I take a lot of CBD. I take my product, of course. I've zero issues. I mean, I've let them know, but that I do, and I have a company. But I don't pop anything on any drug test. But I think it's probably because what I talked about earlier is like,
quality, right?
It's the quality of the product, and really, what are you putting in your body? Like, if you're putting in like some dirty stuff. Someone asked me once upon a time, what's the difference between your product and your CBD product and the product that I can get in the gas station over here? Well, and I wish I was the person that came up with the answer, but the guy that was standing next to me, he was like, okay, so how about this? What's the difference between the sushi that you get at a sushi house and the sushi that you get in a gas station? Like, that's, and honestly, that is really the difference. Like, do you want to roll the bones with gas station sushi? Now, that's not a fair statement here in Hawaii because they sell sushi here all the time, like rolls in 7-Eleven. But we have the ocean right there, so it's not the same thing. But do you really want to roll the bones with gas station sushi? Why would you roll the bones with gas station CBD? Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first thought. Yeah, I mean, any supplement I take, whether it's zinc, I'm very particular about the supplements I put in my body. I'm not going to no hit on CVS or Walmart, but I'm not going to CVS or Walmart to buy my supplements. I use the most pure products that have the most stringent and testing, and I mean I'm just very particular about that because I have one body, I want to take care of it.
Yeah, 100%, and that was like a wake-up call. As I started diving into this industry, I looked at supplements across the board, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, you may not even, like, there's zero regulation on the supplement industry. Like, there's not, like, you can order something off Amazon, you don't know if it has that thing in it or not. There's zero testing that goes in.
What fillers are in there, and a lot of proteins people take. I try to do as natural and organic foods as possible and get all my supplementation from just good nutrition. But I do supplement. I think we have to supplement, but I'm very particular, and I think people should be the same with this. If you're
100%.
Now, I think it's important to know with military people listening, because I know William and I have a lot big military audiences. Even though we don't agree that CBD should not be allowed in the military, it still is. So careful, don't get yourself in any trouble.
I mean, if it's like a pain thing, you can do a topical. That would never show up on any kind of drug testing. There are still So here's how CBD works. CBD is it's a molecule, and in every mammal, there's this thing called the endocannabinoid system. It's pretty new science. It was discovered in the 1960s by a gentleman in Israel, and then rediscovered again in the 1990s when some scientists in the U.S. were trying to figure out, like, how does medical marijuana really help anyone? And so they put a radioactive isotope on a THC molecule and put it inside the human body, and they followed it around through an MRI. And that's how they discovered this endocannabinoid system. And so what it is this giant neuroreceptor system that's connected to every other system in your body. Think your digestive system, your lymphatic system, your central nervous system, your respiratory system, your immune system. It's connected to everything. And the reason that people are like, oh, CBD like cured my cancer or did whatever, it didn't do any of that. What CBD did is it was like a super multivitamin that brought their endocannabinoid system back into balance, back into homeostasis, and that helped bring other things in their body back into homeostasis. So it was basically their body did the natural thing that it does, which is heal itself on a daily basis. And it also kind of reduced chronic inflammation and things like that. But that's really what CBD does, because we have endogenous cannabinoids that we create naturally. We create anandamide, which is it's called the bliss molecule. It's associated with the runner's high. It helps with the upregulation of serotonin. It's actually very closely related to THC, funny enough. And you have, so that's one molecule that you create naturally that feeds the endocannabinoid system. You have another one that's called 2AG. And sometimes the body doesn't make enough, or you have so much dysfunction that you need more. And CBD, it's like a key that goes into the lock to help open this old rusty door. And if you don't use something all the time, that it's going to start not working, it's going to become stagnant. And that's kind of what happens with your endocannabinoid system. If you don't have enough endogenous cannabinoids to like have the thing working smoothly all the time, then it's not going to work properly. And so that's kind of this bro science about like how CBD works with the human body.
Right on. I just learned some there then. So this is what you do full time now, and love supporting veteran businesses. Love what you're doing. Your heart behind what you're doing more than anything. How can people learn about you, get behind you, or anybody that's looking to get CBD from you? How could they?
So really quickly before I go into that, just real quickly, our mission at Naked Warrior Recovery is 22-0. We had a conversation earlier. We've lost more veterans to suicide than we have in 20 years of sustained combat, and that's not okay. And I was actually doing a podcast earlier, like late last year, as we were doing this fundraiser, swim across the Hudson River, where we did a run. We swam across the river. We stopped at the Statue of Liberty, did push-ups and pull-ups. Then we stopped at Ellis Island, more push-ups and pull-ups. Then swam down to Lower Manhattan and did more push-ups and pull-ups, and went to the 9/11 Memorial. But while I was doing this podcast with two other SEALs, it just came out that like my dad is one of those 22. My dad committed suicide after I graduated from SEAL training, and so it made this mission of 22-0 even more personal to me. So, CBD, it's not a magic pill. It's a modality. For me, it helped turn down the noise in my head, and it helps with lots of other people. Maybe makes your fuse a lot shorter, but then you have to change the things that are going on up here. So again, 22-0. That's our mission. But you can find me. Our website is nw-recovery.com or nakedwarriorrecovery.com, all one word. I changed it to NW-recovery just because maybe people don't want to write naked in their search engine. I don't know. I'm not sure why. There's also, I've created 5 SEAL Secrets, which is kind of a way to kind of think about life, and it's a mindset thing. And I also do some keynote speaking, and this is my presentation. If you go to the number 5 SEAL, SEAL secrets.com, 5sealsecrets.com, put your name and email in there, and I will email you a copy of 5 SEAL Secrets. It's really, the secret is naked, never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, expose your fears, and do the work. And a little bit of lessons behind each one of those. But or you can find me on Instagram at nakedwarriorrecovery.com.
Right on. Good looking website here, by the way. I love the logo with the old Naked Warrior SEALs.
That's it.
UDT guys. That's although
old school.
I look at these old school pictures and they got their mask on their forehead.
Right. That would never go. Yeah. Be punished for that.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, brother.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
And like I said, vice versa, if you have anybody that you come across that's needing that spiritual pillar that we have in Mighty Oaks, send them our way, man. You got it. We are all in this together.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.